Here we are with Siti Muga and Nduoko, and we have some two guests that we'll be introducing shortly, but we begin with the day's proverb by Siti.
Fumbo mfumbe mjinga, mwerevu huligangua.
Fumbo mfumbie mjinga, mwerevu taligangua. Haya. Who has a phone that's ringing? Oh, one of our guests. Okay, I was wondering.
You're one of those kids in school when the teacher says who is making noise.
You
point very fast.
Yes.
You're one of the reporters club. Huh?
Okay. Yeah, it's one of our guests. No, we'll excuse her. She's a guest. Yeah. Dr. Penninah Musangi is not the one who had a ringing phone, but she's in the studio with us. She is the director of TVET at Amref International University. Dr. Musangi, karibu sana. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much.
Karibu. Good to have you in the show. And also, she's also not the one who had a ringing phone. Emily Okoth is the manager, Center for Career Planning and Placement at KCA University. Good morning, Emily.
Good morning.
Welcome to the Situation Room.
Thank you.
So we are going to talk about how to make a career choice when undecided. And this is obviously a very interesting conversation. We've heard it before with kusips.
Yes.
Even yesterday, though he back here. Yeah, how to get to a point where you don't know. What would you like to be when you grow up? And then, unfortunately, what would you like to be when you grow up when you have passed and you've passed very well in KCPE? What would you like to be when you grow up? There's some courses that you are not allowed to say by society. So you've just done straight A's, and then what would you like to be when you grow up? I'd like to be a bus driver. Anyway, what would you like to be grow up? You have to come up with some tough name. Aeronautical engineer. Maxillofacial surgeon. Those things go to the same thing in secondary school, and because you started like that, then you are basically expected to be that. But is it necessarily the choice of the people want to be? Dr. Musangi, you have dealt with many students when they come. How many children do you actually see who know for sure that this is what they'd like to be when they grow up, and they mean it?
Just not to give figures, I can say that the question of what would you like to be started a long time ago from primary, as you have said. When they get to the university, since I work in a university, that is where now the career path in terms of development, students get to know what they do. Because while they are in secondary, other levels of education, they are taking subjects which will define what career they will take. Then when they get to the university now, they are placed by the body you have talked about. Some are placed to their choices, others are placed not to their choices. And therefore, when we face such kind of students, we have to take the role of mentorship, whereby in terms of mentorship, we have career advisors. And one of the issues is that every lecturer, because you are teaching a particular area of specialization, you have to be a career advisor in your area. And therefore, when you face such students, it's you to advise them in terms of, you do what we call career evaluation. You self-assess the students. Then the students can do research on their own, in terms of what attributes, what personalities, what skills do I need to have. Then some will make a decision and say, this is the path I'm going to take. Others will still remain undecided. And therefore, there's something I usually believe in terms of, when you're given a lemon, make lemonade. Because in terms of career development or career paths, it's not a one-off. Actually, you can even finish the first level of education and even you change your career. So it's something which can mutate. You can change as you advance. You realize your new skills. You realize your new values. You realize your new personality. And therefore, you change your career. So what am I saying? I'm saying that we have career advisors who come in very critical to advise such kind of students who are yet not decided.
Dr. Musangi, there's something you said which is of pertinent importance to me. You've said the people who teach the various aspects of a discipline are also the advisors. Did I get you right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, do you have a special training for people to become advisors? Or do you assume that just because somebody has experience in having been well versed in that subject, they are in a good place to actually advise?
Oh, thank you for that maybe kind of correction. You see, the career advisors, what I'm talking about, the teaching staff, they support actually the career placement service office. So there is a whole department which is meant to career advise students. But now to make it 360 all around, we make sure that the teaching staff also, they undertake short courses in terms of your area of specialization. For instance, if it's community health, we have programs in community health. If it's in community health, the lecturers who are teaching community health, they know what a community health practitioner is supposed to do. So as they advise the students, together with the career placement office staff, then they are better placed. Because they are the ones who interact with them in class, give you examples, you see.
And
Yes.
And the training that you have for them, is it something where they're in a class, learn theory, or do they also have field work where they can put this knowledge into practice? Because you chose a good discipline, community health. Community health has to be in the community. So do they go to the communities, or do they just learn the ABCDs of community health, and then that is what they use to now navigate these interesting waters of advice?
Thank you. You see, one of the things I like with the universities, and now the trend which is coming out, is bringing the industry and the practitioners to be part of the teaching staff. Somebody who is experienced, who is working. Now, like you going to teach journalism. Yes, so we have community health staff who are also teaching faculty. So they help in bringing the real industry life. Yes.
Emily,
Yes.
from KCA University, now when you hear KCA University, you think maybe it's accounting only. And maybe when someone selects to go to KCA University, it'll have something to do with math and books. But then when somebody arrives to KCA University, they've already decided that they want to come to KCA University. They already made that decision after maybe when they were in high school, when they were receiving their results, they made the final decision to come. At that point, is it too late to start guiding them on career choice? It seems they've already decided what they want to do.
Okay. When you hear KCA, just as you've said, initially it was a college of accountancy, but we became a university with a charter that is 10 years ago, and therefore we have all the other courses, almost all the courses that are offered at the other universities. So when you talk about CPAs, just like you've said, we are the best in the country at the moment, and you'll find that almost 60% of our graduates are actually working. We have the best employability at the moment in terms of accountancy. However, we also have business courses. At the moment, we have so many IT courses that are, the ones which are trending at the moment. At the moment, we have the trending courses like data analytics, artificial intelligence, Internet of Things. So we have almost 6 IT courses that we are offering at the moment. Apart from that, I know Dr. is from AMREF. We also offer counseling psychology. Mental health is big at the moment. So we have that both at undergraduate and also at master's level. However, when it comes to career guidance, what we've done as KCA is to be able to reach out to students, mostly even before they join KCA University. We try as much as possible to visit as many schools as possible, to tell them about the courses that we are offering at the moment, tell them the kind of courses we offer and the relevant or the prospective careers that they can undertake. For example, if you talk about BBIT, Bachelor of Business in Information Technology. So for that particular course, what are the jobs or what careers can someone actually pursue? So what we take them through, sometimes they're even called for different courses by COOPs, as it were. But when they come to the university, what we do, we still take them through career guidance, because some of them will come and say, I am not able to do this course because that's not my passion. For example, they've been called for counseling psychology, but they want to do a course in IT. So what we do a personality test for them. We take them through a personality test so that they are able to understand what their personality is, and that also guides us on the kind of course or courses that they can take. So how does that work? We also look at your grades, because there is a minimum for each course. So if you meet that minimum, we can actually transfer you from one course to another. So that is also possible. So having known your career needs or the career you want to pursue, it is possible that we can actually change your course from the one you're called for to another one.
Right.
I'm interested in asking one thing. You mentioned that you offer counseling psychology.
Yes, we do.
What do you do for Practicum? Because it's a course that, having taught the theory, there has to be a place where one puts to practice what it is they've learned.
Okay. So the program that we have actually trains students from the word go. That every day we have, role playing. So they start by role playing in their first year, and then the second year we have Mathare Mental Hospital. We take our students there. We go to schools. We also offer community services, such that if we do the practical skills by actually attaching our students to different institutions that require, like Mathare Hospital. They also go to schools. We can take them to a money counseling center. So we give them diverse areas. Some of them even go to the prisons, because there they also require counseling services. So any institution that requires that service, we actually take them to do their practicum.
Okay. Then there's something else you mentioned, and this one will apply to both of you. Something I hear very often when people talk about guiding students and careers. They talk about the student's passion. What is the practicality of this particular word and the interest? Because there is something called someone's ability. And then there's something called guiding someone to understand what it is that is practical with their interest. So connect for me the dots. Where does passion come in?
Okay.
Either.
Maybe I can go first. Yeah, so you're talking about passion, and we're also looking at skills. There are some people who have passion, for example, in IT, but they may not have skills. So what we do is to take them through the training, first to do the personality test. Once we've done the personality test, we also ask them what could be their interest, what could be their strength, and also what do they want to become. You know, something else that is really important as we look at career, they have role models, and they also have parental wishes. So first of all, we look at, this is what you want. Are your grades good enough to allow you to take that course? If that is okay, then some of the skills can actually be taught. We can take them through training. We can have mentorship programs where they are mentored by people who have already gone through that career, who are already practicing in that particular career, to mentor them and also to help them grow their skills. And then we attach them to different organizations. So we take them through attachment. We can have apprenticeship, where they are actually having on-the-job training. So through that, they are able to gain the skills and therefore be able to pursue that particular course. So apart from just saying, this is what I want, what is it that you can be able to do? So it takes an effort of a student also. So it's not just that I want, but what else are you putting in to be able to get that which you want?
Sure.
Just to add on to what Emily has said in terms of passion and the practicability of it, it comes in when self-assessing in terms of career development. In self-assessment, there are three key issues. One is the skills, as she has said. Second is the values. And these values are actually somehow defined by oneself as the student, or even defined by the society, because you might maybe watching some certain movies and all that, and you are like, Is that a career? But in our society, it's not allowed. So the value is not there. So you start getting what we call the passion now in terms of what would I want to do. But in terms of passion and the values and then the personality, they have to be tied together. One cannot work without the other. It's like the three-stone kind of stove. So you require the three for you to be able now to achieve the practicability of your career choice. And this comes out very well when the student now, you have met the entry requirements. You see, these are innate in you. So they come in when you start attending classes, you start doing practicals, you are like, then it will be possible to assess, is this student possible a good one to undertake, if it's counseling psychology, if it's community health, if it's nursing, because like you see, like for us as a university, we focus on health sciences because we are purely, our niche is health sciences to align with our the AMREF as the sponsor. So what happens is that health, you are dealing with humanity, and there are some issues like values, there are some skills, there's knowledge which is required for you to be in the health sector. So when you start taking classes, and that's the reason the courses takes maybe 2 years, 3 years for you even to realize yourself. And that's the reason I said from my first discussion, I said it's possible even to find students changing their careers even in third year, even second year, even after graduation. And that is allowed. So that is the time they have now achieved what we can say their self-actualization in terms of what career do I want to pursue throughout my life.
But isn't it that a wasted number of years? Doesn't it indicate that there's somewhere where the system failed them, where they were not able to be guided well enough to start thinking what I'd like to do early enough, so that they've gone through an entire secondary school, they've gone into first year, second year of university, or even up to fourth year, fifth year in some courses, and then they realize, nah, this is what I wanted to do. Maybe if you actually ask them, from the very beginning, that thing was in them. The thing that they are changing to, it was in them from the very beginning. It's just that it was never nurtured. They never had an opportunity to express themselves. They never had an opportunity to see where they can get the training for it. I see that as, maybe I'm wrong, and you can correct me, that when someone is actually changing their career after university, on the third year of university, it's a failure in the system.
Not really a failure, but to some extent, that happens to a very low percentage of students. And especially those students, and since you said KUPS was here, when they do their placements, there are some students who cannot fit in terms of the courses they have chosen. So what happens? They place them into any
course available.
Yeah, any course available. So what happens? Such students, if they are not well guided, they come in, they report, and they start studying. So they don't express in terms of, this was my initial plan as a career. So, and that is where I really like the part for, especially for self-sponsored students. You find when they are choosing the course to study, they have to do research what that course entails. And that one thing we have taken advantage of as AMREF is that every course we have provided for our students, on the website we have provided the career paths. So that the students, they choose, I'm going to take this program. Then this is what is, I'll take this program and it will lead me to this kind of career destinations. So the student is guided. You see, that is self-sponsored. You are choosing for yourself. And therefore, that is where comes in there. You have the passion, and all, therefore you can decide. Now the problem, and that is a small percentage I was talking about, is whereby we have students which are placed to courses they had not chosen. And they come report because also of the society mentality.
There's a
you
pressure.
have to go to the university.
Right.
Yes. That is
So,
now.
Okay, but obviously what we're dealing with now, there's a problem. There is a problem because there's so many factors here that weigh heavily on this process that we're talking about having not been done right. So yesterday, just being told that, it's not that there are no jobs available, it's just that the prerequisite skills then are not held by a lot of students, which for me, if there's a disconnect, then there's something going on that is wrong between assessing what is needed on the job side of things, at the same time assessing what is needed in terms of interests on the student side. And I think that there needs to be a fluid relationship between the two. We cannot say that we are doing well if on the job side we're delivering what is not needed, and then we have jobs that are not being taken up, and then you have a huge percentage of those who've come out of school and then are not being able to pick up these jobs. At the same time, we're having students going into courses that they're not interested in just because they must be placed. So what are we looking at practically that should and ought to be done? I mean, it's great when you say that we have people who are holding your hand and walking you through the education process. But if you ask me, it's something that needs to be multiplied across board, because the numbers and the percentages that we are seeing are just too high of either those who cannot get placement after this university education. But then it brings me to ask myself, then why are people getting into the courses that they're getting into? Is it to get a job later? Is it because that is where their interest really lies? Is it because they then want to use it to do something else? So what are some of these trends that you're seeing? And then how can we really reduce on this disconnect that we are seeing? It's clear, it's evident, it's a problem. And we've got to deal with it. Not just at AMREF, not just at KCA, but across the country, really. And it's also a global problem, but it is an issue, and we've got to start to chip away at it.
Yeah, I can go first. What I can say is that true, there is a disconnect, and I would really personally propose there needs to be a system from early level of education. Yes, since primary, not the issue of asking when you grow up, what do you want to become?
What do you want to do now?
Yes.
What are you interested in now?
Yeah, now, not
Right.
when you grow up.
Yeah.
And that is, it starts building in terms of, I want to become this, and therefore I like some of the new education system. Starting developing the talents and the skills of pupils and students as they grow on. Then when you get to secondary level, I remember there's a case I saw somewhere whereby when the student reports in Form 1, you ask, what is your desired career?
Yes.
And they put it in your is it not transcript, your report form. All the time it reminds you that I committed. And they keep on checking. You said you want to become this. Are you working? Are the subjects you have taken, are they taking you to that career you chose?
Yes.
Something like that. Then when it comes to now the mass failure and in terms of connected to the job market, there's something we need to note that the generation we are dealing with now is very enlightened. And I think because of technology, it's very enlightened that they can finish Form 4 and they know they can search and see what I want to become. And they start preparing themselves. Even before they are admitted to university, they start preparing themselves to that career.
Yeah.
And when that is now the point where we wish to come in as a university, as the society, and even the parents, to support these students once they realize what they want to become, to support them to become that.
Okay.
We are hosting Dr. Penninah Musangi, Director of TVET at AMREF International University, and Emily Okoth, Manager at the Center for Career Planning and Placement at KCA University. So just respond to that question before we continue, Esther, which is on highlight some of the jobs available for BBIT students.
Okay,
Esther.
Emily.
Sorry.
Yeah. So thank you for that question. Now, when you undertake that course, then you can become a business intelligence manager. You can be a business operations manager. You can also work as a data scientist and also as an enterprise architect. So basically, any IT-related job, especially in the IT firms, but mostly to do with innovations and also information systems.
Okay. Someone is also asking about Diploma in Banking and Finance. And does KCA offer Diploma in Banking and Finance?
Yes, we do offer that. We have it both at the diploma level and also when you pursue the course in Bachelor of Commerce degree, you can also have that as an option. So currently we are offering that, and we have good feedback, especially when we do the tracer surveys, that most of our students who have actually taken that course have been placed in banks and other financial institutions.
Something you mentioned, which I found interesting. You said you take time to go to schools to highlight the courses that you offer. The schools that you go to, do you find a good support system in the career guidance department within the school, so that even as you talk about what is available, that have you found that they have sufficient human resource to help guide these students so that they can understand that this entire spectrum of subjects that you're taking, this is what you need to focus on if this is what you want to do? Because I believe this issue of career guidance begins a lot earlier than when somebody's just about to say pivot to go to university. It ought to start much earlier.
Okay. We are able to do that, which we are able to, because we are not able to visit all the schools so far. But what we've done, the ones we've visited,
Yes.
all of them actually come to our center, especially the career managers. We have time for them to come to our university for training. We have, like workshops and career fairs where they can come, and we tell them more about the courses that are offered and the careers that can, they can pursue. But what we have also realized is that some of them actually bring their students, and then we have a sit-in. They come to our classes, they sit with the students, and they're able to actually see or even understand exactly what we are talking about. So, the other thing we encourage the career officers or teachers to do is to do self-awareness trainings for students. When they do the self-awareness trainings, because that is simple, it's not the same thing as personality, because that then we do at the university level, they are able to actually know who they are. And that also plays a big role in the choice of careers that they make.
What do you think fuels this undecision? Because I think that's one of the things that we're looking at today when we're saying that, okay, so how do you make a choice when you're undecided? What fuels the indecision? Like, from what you've seen so far, what is it? Not quite sure what I want to do, not quite sure what's going to make the most money, because we can't ignore that a lot of folks are looking like, okay, let's go to school so that, we can, secure the bag later, right? What is it? Pressure from parents. So what are some of the factors that are affecting this indecision? Maybe that then would help to say, now make a decision based on this or the other. Prof.
Yes, one of the things which fuels this kind of indecision is the society itself in terms of mentality. What are the careers or well-known lawyers, architects, engineers, and all that, and doctors? You see, the society expects to talk about another career, but those ones. But one thing we have to mention is that even in medical, in health kind of sciences, there is more than doctors. There are more professionals. There are other careers than doctors, yes. But you see that there's that disconnect that the students do not know those other careers. They know what the society, because it has fueled that these are the careers only. Like there's physiotherapists. That's also a career in the health sciences. The nurses, the clinic officers, the counseling psychologists. All those are careers in health related. So it is not only about doctors. And therefore, we need the society to be educated about. The students should pursue what they desire. And this should connect, even as Emily has said, even at the school level. Yes, as you visit the schools, the students need to be guided. What are the careers which are there for us? And therefore, as I choose my subjects, because that's another problem which comes up when it comes to placement. You find this career requires this particular subject, but you did not pursue it in secondary level. So your cluster is not complete. So what happens? Your career is dimmed. Yeah, because you didn't pursue that subject. So what I would advise is that there need to be a connection between the three levels of education. The primary, the secondary, and the university and the college. But there is something else which has come up, and being now the TVET director. The TVET has brought in courses which disregard, they don't look into the issues of cluster subjects. They look at competency. And I think that is what is being pushed by the CBC. So in TVET programs, they are pushing for you to have competence in a particular specialty. So even if you didn't do biology, which is required for you to maybe undertake something like a health-related course, you can take a strand like nutrition. because that is your area of competency. That has been cured by the standards and guidelines TVET has brought in terms of competence-based training.
See the thing that you've said, Dr. Musangi, and there needs to be. It's the same thing that you've also said, Emily. It's a question that CT was asking when you visit the schools, do you find adequate resources for the students in career guidance? I am just putting it directly. There's a failure in the system. And I want to repeat that and say, look, so the Kenya Universities and Colleges Central Placement System goes to the university, to the high schools at a certain stage and says, so these are the universities, these are the courses that you could look at, and these are the clusters that would help you to get into. But this is at a stage where they're just giving you information. Select. And then after you've done your KCSE, they look at your grade and your clusters, and then they place you according to your choices and what's available. And once that flops, they go into option C, which is placement. Okay? The failure that I'm talking about is from the very beginning, this should have been identified that this is this child's competence. This is what they have serious interest in. Maybe we should guide them, even when they're selecting subjects, select this kind of subjects. Have a conversation with them. What is it that you like to do? I notice that you like to do this and the other. Do you enjoy doing this? Maybe you could become this kind of person. There's a career path for you. This doesn't happen in schools. And that's why you see, you may say that it's only a small percentage of students that end up changing. Many do not change just because they're thinking, okay, so it has been a difficult journey for me to get to university. If I go back home and say, I have changed, that's a whole difficult conversation to have. So many people don't change, but they just go through the system because. And we've had very many times, in fact, even at this age, you hear people telling you that I went and I got the certificate for my parents.
True.
Then I started doing what I wanted to do. It's a failure in the system.
But Eric, there's something even more interesting here. If you look at the number of students who actually sit for the KCSE, they're over 800?
900, close to 1 million.
Yes, exactly. And how many actually end up in the university?
With a C++ and above?
Yes. How many end up in institutions of higher learning?
20%.
Precisely, now,
Yes.
20%. So, when we talk about the guidance that we give, does it take this into account? Because the reality check is this. All these students are being primed to think they can go to university and they can't.
Yes.
Even if they all attain to C, they still can't because we don't have the capacity to take them. And even if we took them in the TVETs and other tertiary colleges, we still can't absorb all of them. So, when we guide these students and we advise them, how exactly do you guide them to this reality? Because there's then the reality of you have taken this course.
Yes.
After the course, we train them to believe that they'll get gainful employment. The vast majority do not. So, what do you do?
Now, maybe to talk about what we've been able to do, and we are alive to the fact that the career guidance is not well done at the school level. So what we do at our level, someone comes in, and then the other challenge that is there is finances. There are some jobs, there are some careers that they would like to pursue, but they can't afford them. So what we do as KCA, for example, is as they go through their courses, if someone is interested in another course, we tell them, like, you're doing a course in Bachelor of Commerce, and you want to pursue accountancy. So what we would do is that we will cross-sell. We'll tell you that you can actually also do a course on the side, so that by the time you're leaving college, you're more competitive, So how do we build them in such a manner that they are more competitive when they leave? Because everyone will have a BCom, but what makes you stand out from the rest of the students? So that is just being able to build in that, having monthly trainings for them. So every month we have an accelerated training system where from first year we start with self-awareness. Who are you? And then we build it on. We do the meta skills, we do the social skills, we do And then we start attaching them to the different organizations and attaching them to different mentors so that by the end of it, they are able to know exactly what they want to do. We've done a few tracer surveys, and every end of year we do skills evaluation surveys with our industry partners, the ones who actually take in our students for attachments and internship. And we ask them, what are the skills that our students have? What is it that they lack? So that we can be able to now, put our trainings in such a manner that we are able to train them on those skills that are lacking. So that has been able to help quite a bit, because through that, some of them actually take in our students after their attachments. So that has...
I have to ask the two of you this question. Do you have a course in happiness?
See?
Happiness.
We may not have that, but we have mental health awareness trainings that makes them...
You know, this is how students feel exam. I have set my exam, I provided it, now she's revising my exam and setting her own exam and then giving an appropriate answer to her exam.
I can look
Do you have a course in happiness?
No, I can categorically say there's no course in happiness.
Why?
Because that is something which is natural, comes in.
Raha jipe mwenyewe.
Yes.
Find your happiness.
Actually,
But
happiness
I want
in career or happiness in general.
happiness.
Happiness.
You see, this entire discussion that we are having here, why people change and people, you are unhappy. Just look at your lives as adults. The things that make you change is because you are not pleased with this thing. Something about it doesn't gel. And the end result of it not gelling, you are not pleased.
I could actually give an example of myself.
Please.
Yeah, so just to give an example, I trained as a teacher, and I trained and I taught for 4 years, and then I became a schools inspector. And why I changed from schools inspector, I changed and moved to Safaricom. Why? Because at that point, there was no work. I didn't see any challenge, and I was not motivated. There was no happiness, because all I dealt with was issues to do with the teachers and missing school. They are impregnating students, and they're not...
Complaint.
So I moved from the Ministry of Education and went to Safaricom. I worked for Safaricom for 11 years, but I didn't find that happiness, And that's how come I left Safaricom, went back to school, and currently I'm doing a PhD in clinical psychology, because that's where I find my happiness. So that has also helped me a lot to guide my students that, you may not be where you want to be, but if you know where if you're guided, we were not guided during our time.
Yeah.
But at least they have the option of getting guidance from us.
How did you
And then
identify clinical psychology as your happy time, as your happy space?
it starts from when I was an inspector of schools, and I saw the kind of issues that I was handling as, issues to do with teachers, drug and substance abuse.
Did you want to be a teacher?
No, of course not.
Okay.
Wait.
No, I did.
You've
My dad
brought back
wanted
a
me
debate
to.
we've
My
had.
dad wanted me to be a teacher.
Has been
and that's why I
Okay.
left.
So your dad wanted you to be a teacher?
Yes, and as soon as I was actually teaching, I took up another course in human resource management, because I thought for me to leave this job, I have to have something
You must have
extra.
something different.
So that's what drove me to do that. Yeah.
What did you mean when you're asking about the course on happiness?
I'm going to explain why. It is strange, but some of the best regarded universities in the world have found that course is one of the most sought after courses by the undergrads. It is sought after, it is full to capacity. You see, at the end of the day, I could argue that everything we do here is in pursuit of happiness.
Yes.
Sure.
True.
So if you are going to give it all the variable details that make it, and you're talking about the choice you have, the passion you have, you're talking about happiness, you just don't know it. Now, if you offered a course in happiness, you would be offering them that structure and platform from which now to launch into the very things that they're doing, because you'll open their minds into understanding, this is how I ought to look at it when I'm thinking of what I want to do. Because clearly the way they're thinking about it is in terms of, does it have money? Are my parents going to be happy? Will it sound good if I speak of myself as having completed this career? Do those things make you happy? Not necessarily. Somebody may be happy, as Eric put it, being a bus driver, but they get all A's. So now, how do you guide this student so that, yes, they utilize these A's as best as they can, but the thing that they think makes them happy is also something that is within their capacity to do. You see? So it isn't as straightforward and as simple as we sometimes make it, because human beings are complex creatures. But the thing that unifies us, this pursuit of happiness, even it doesn't matter from the time you're born, you pursue it.
But what I can say in terms of pursuit of happiness, actually happiness, I can say it's an amorphous word, something which you can't touch. Now I'm thinking of a course in happiness. What will it entail?
Actually, how then do you teach psychology and you can't touch it?
You see, happiness is just one aspect. Psychology is in totality. The psychology of a human being. You see, happiness might be one aspect of the psychology. And actually, maybe now you have said it, it can be encompassed in when you maybe techie, counseling, psychology. It can be a unit. Happiness, you can introduce it. You have said it well. And from there, you can now start building, it becomes a common course. Because we have common courses in universities. And therefore, it becomes a springboard for the students who are taking the courses.
You know,
but there is a question which you asked, and
so you now
it's still hanging.
You want to reset my exam? Okay, reset it.
It's about the number of students who sit exams. Some go to university, others at TVET, and where are the others? Actually, that's a research which needs to be undertaken. Yes, where are these students, and what careers are they pursuing wherever they are? Because you see, students who are going to universities and they were thinking about universities all along because the government was funding. Now it has changed. Government is funding even TVET programs. So, and you have seen students who are qualified to go to the university opting to get to diploma and certificate courses.
You know why we're going there is this thinking that you must go to university because that is the pinnacle of studying. That is wrong thinking.
That's already the beginning of our issues.
That's the error. That's the error. Going to a TVET is just as important as going to a university. Just as important. Not less, not more, just as important. And the place it has in society is just as important.
I think what I can add to the happiness debate question. Finding happiness. What will make you find happiness? Because you're here, all of you today, for 9 hours, you know. So if you're not happy, are you going to work well?
Nope.
Of course not. And that's what made me happy. I get much less than what I used to get when I was working at Safaricom. But I'm happy. I'm happy because I'm doing what I love.
You're fulfilled.
I'm fulfilled.
Just as he's asking the question, would you have found your happiness if your journey had been shortened by guidance in high school?
Yes, I would have. And that's my mandate at the moment, to make sure the students that I'm in touch with are able to know exactly what they want, because that will determine their happiness in future. They're going to be in that job. I know there are jobs where you sit and you don't want to go to school. Okay, I didn't like teaching. And I was teaching English and I was teaching composition and summary. So every morning I'm at the gate and I'm like, what?
God,
And I was not happy. So what did I do? I moved on, you know. I moved. So finding happiness, it's a collective responsibility. The students need to also support us in this, because they may have that passion, or they may be doing a course because it is trending.
Yeah.
But are they capable? Do they have the skills? Are they doing it because of competition? They want to be like their friend. My best friend is a doctor, so I want to be a doctor.
Yep.
So being able to guide them in such a way that they really understand what they're getting into, and I always tell them, are you going to be happy if for 9 hours you're actually going to be seated in that office doing that job? I think that really does help them to think, you know, outside the box.
As we conclude the conversation, let's start with you, Dr. Musangi. What would you tell students who maybe they want to get some guidance on the kind of programs that you're offering at Amref International University, how can they get you? Can they just walk in and sit down with you and they'll look at them and tell them, okay, nas.
Try something else.
Thank you for that question. Yes, we have avenues for career guidance in terms of students who want to study with us. One, you can do exactly what you have said. You can walk in and you will be guided, given the options which are there, and you are advised and you make your choice. So the thing is, make your choice. Then the other thing is that you can also get us online in terms of you can make a call. You'll also be guided online through the phone. And even you can also start from the website, from the courses, you can see in terms of what courses are there and what these courses are leading you to be.
Okay.
Yes. So those are the options we provide.
Emily, for you at KCA University?
So when I'm talking to our students, what do they need to consider when they are choosing their careers? First of all, what are their interests? What are the skills that they have? Their talents and their strengths, and also look at their personality. And also values, what is your value? Where would you want to work? Does it infringe on your values? And are there jobs available for that particular career course that you're pursuing? So those are some of the stringent questions that we really need to ask them.
Ladies, we thank you very much for joining us today. Come again. We can continue this debate and vibrant conversation, and let's see how we can help people just choose what really fits them. Siti, let's conclude with the day's proverb.
Indeed. Fumbo, mfumbie mjinga, mwerevu uligangua. Yes.
Fumbo mfumbie mjinga, mwerevu uligangua, alifumbua, whatever. Straightforward, isn't it?
Yeah.
Asanteni sana.